Lucas and I are Hollywood's most notorious hopeless romantics. He put his career on hold for the one that got away. I went crazy for the man I couldn't have. He threw money and resources at her. I wrote songs to win him over. We were a real power couple, a living legend of unrequited love. Then, we accidentally slept together. And secretly got married. Later, we ended up on a reality show together, where his old flame and my unrequited love were also conveniently cast. After completing a task, we forgot we were supposed to be strangers and kissed on camera out of pure habit. That night, the internet celebrated. Our fan forums were ecstatic. They getting together is a public service shot to the top of the trending list. The sterile scent of the penthouse suite did little to mask the night's debauchery. My body ached all over, and the other side of the bed was still warm. My phone was vibrating non-stop. My manager, Judy, was blowing it up. I played dead for a few seconds. The moment I reached for my phone, a strange feeling made me freeze. The internet is fucking exploding. Can't you give me a break for 1 second? I sat up. Bullshit. There's no way the paparazzi got a shot. A list pop star and an award-winning actor shacking up in a hotel. Just the headline alone was enough to cause a media meltdown. No way. Judy sneered. Everyone and their mother knows you're obsessed with that bastard Eric. I let out a huge sigh of relief and collapsed back onto the bed. Thank God. So what's trending? I asked, feeling like I'd just dodged a bullet. Anna, one of the biggest suckers for love in the business. The pleasant afterglow of the night lingered. I stalled for a few seconds, trying to make conversation. What do you mean, one of? Because there's also Lucas, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You two are a real pair. Just as Judy said that, footsteps approached from the other room. A man emerged, wearing only a bathrobe, his hair still damp. A few drops of water trickled down his chiseled chest. I looked up and met the sharp, handsome gaze of Lucas himself. Lucas. Debuted at 18, and in 10 years, he'd swept all 3 major Best Actor awards. His career was a fairy tale, a dream come true. He was the man, and woman, of everyone's dreams. The only blemish on his otherwise perfect record was that, like me, he was a well-known sucker for love. A week ago, Lucas was nominated for a major international acting award. The night before last, he and I had accidentally fallen into bed together, tangled up until we couldn't tell which way was up. He'd huskily called me Chloe, and I'd sobbed back Eric. Judy was still on the phone. Where are you? Why are you so calm? I stared at the hickey on Lucas's neck and thought, because I've created a much bigger problem for you. I wasn't with Eric last night, I said. Just pay to have the story killed. You've got experience with this. The line went dead. I was wearing nothing but Lucas's blazer, the skin on my bare shoulders and neck a mess of red marks. The room fell silent. Even our breathing seemed loud. After a moment, he walked over and draped a thin blanket over my shoulders. You were still asleep when I went to the bathroom, Lucas said, bending down to look at me, his tone perfectly calm. Go get cleaned up. His dark eyes were deep and intense. I nodded, but as soon as I tried to stand, my legs gave out. Lucas caught me in an instant, his warmth and the steam from his shower enveloping me. The moment our bare skin touched, we both stiffened, the memory of last night's passion flooding back. He pulled back slightly, his gaze dropping to my legs. His ears turned bright red as he asked softly, "Can I carry you?" My answer was to wrap my arms around his neck. We already slept together. No point in being coy now. Lucas's official bio listed him at 6'2". Tall, long legs, broad shoulders, narrow waist, a born model. He'd been in a military movie once, and he was a gym fanatic. A body like his was why luxury brands were always lining up to sign him. I leaned against his chest, thinking I'd gotten a very personal demonstration of that last night. His fans weren't exaggerating when they called him a male supermodel. Lucas was a huge star who kept a low profile outside of official events, so we'd rarely crossed paths. The few times I'd seen him at galas, he was always surrounded by a crowd of admirers, utterly untouchable. But right now, he was being incredibly considerate. He gently set me down in the tub and carefully adjusted the water temperature. "Call me if you need anything," he said, his hair a mess, his features sharp and handsome. "I'll be right outside." The door closed, and I sank into the water. My mind drifted to a movie I saw when I was 20. A Life in a Tree, the film that won Lucas his first Best Actor award. He played a man who accidentally betrayed the woman he loved, torn apart by his conscience. I had to smile. This situation was probably hitting a little too close to home for him. It took me forever to get clean. By the time I came out, I was in no mood to be pleasant to Lucas. A fresh set of clothes had been delivered, along with the morning after pill. Lucas handed me a glass of water and the pill. "Sorry. Given our line of work, it's better to be safe." His voice was gentle, but the veins on the hand holding the glass were bulging. His tone left no room for argument. I didn't waste time, taking the pill and downing it in one gulp. What if it doesn't work? It had been a while since we'd slept together. I was enjoying my life and had no desire to be pregnant. But I needed to know where he stood. "Your wishes are all that matter. I'll take full responsibility and give you the best possible compensation." The belt of Lucas's robe was loosely tied, revealing the marks on his abs. He crossed his arms, leaning against the kitchen island, his eyes locked on me. "I don't know how my key card ended up being for your room, but there's no point in dwelling on that now." He pinched the bridge of his nose. "If you are pregnant, it's your decision whether to keep it or not, and who raises the child. I'll respect whatever you decide and unconditionally provide financial support, resources, and any other form of compensation." No wonder he had such a good reputation in the industry. The man was a class act. While it takes two to tango, I was still the one who walked into your suite by mistake. My back and legs were sore. Last night, I'd completely lost my mind. I glanced at the man across from me and sat down on the sofa. I clutched my stomach. Lucas's performance in bed was the polar opposite of his cold, reserved demeanor. I paused. "Let's just call this a one-night stand and pretend it never happened." Lucas's head was down, so I couldn't see his expression. "Let's exchange numbers," he said after a moment, picking up his phone from the island. "You can contact me if anything comes up." I raised an eyebrow. Everyone knew Lucas had powerful connections and was never short on top-tier projects. My debut single had been a massive hit, but in all my years in the business, the gap in our status and professional fields meant we'd never had much to do with each other. Besides, more than his legendary acting career, my strongest impression of him was the same as the public's perception of me. A one-of-a-kind, notorious sucker for love. His story was just as well known as my infatuation with Eric, the CEO of Ocean Media. 3 years ago, at the peak of his career, Lucas put everything on hold for 2 years for a rising starlet named Chloe. A workaholic putting his career on pause for love, a high-profile relationship announcement, it caused a massive fan exodus and a huge scandal. It wasn't until a year ago, when the paparazzi broke the news of their breakup, that Lucas slowly started to make a comeback. Less than 10 months after his return, he was already up for a major international film award for a gritty indie drama. And at his welcome back party, through a bizarre twist of fate, he'd ended up in bed with me. I pulled out my phone, thinking with a self-deprecating smirk that at least I got something out of it. A good time and a powerful connection. My phone was flooded with messages. I ignored them all and held it out for Lucas to scan. Just then, 2 new messages from Judy popped up, right where we could both see them. "Lucas's news just bumped yours off the trending list. His is even juicier. You hopeless romantics should help each other out." I froze. As if on cue, Lucas's phone started buzzing like crazy. It was Lucas's legendary manager, Mark. While he was on the phone, I quickly went online to catch up on the gossip. An hour ago, I was the top trending topic. A famous paparazzi account, The Hollywood Insider, had posted, "Did Anna finally get her man?" The picture was of me and Eric at the party yesterday, in our formal wear. A trick of the angle made it look like we were kissing. It was a beautifully composed shot. The clean, elegant line of Eric's jaw was on full display. My head was tilted up slightly, a smile on my face as I looked at him with rapt attention. The comments were brutal. Trolls were calling me a pathetic suck-up, while my fans were desperately trying to do damage control, frustrated with me yet again. But that wasn't the main event. I clicked on the new, explosive trending topic. Lucas-Chloe reunite. It was from the Hollywood Insider again. No text this time, just a security camera video. A man and a woman, kissing as they stumbled down a hallway and into a suite. It was over a minute long, a desperate, passionate kiss. The man completely shielded the woman, their difference in size making it impossible to see her face. All you could see were her pointed toes, her waist-length hair swaying, and the man's hand gripping her tiny waist, veins popping on his hand. It was so hot. You could even hear the wet sounds of their mouths, enough to make anyone blush. I covered my face, recognizing with a sinking feeling that it was last night's video. That was me and Lucas. I looked up, and the man from the video was standing right in front of me. Lucas said, his face unreadable, "We need to talk." I swear, I didn't leak that video. "I know," Lucas said, surprisingly calm. "You haven't really had time since last night." My mind flashed back to all the positions we tried, and I was speechless. "I'll handle the trending topic," Lucas said. "And I took care of the one with you and Eric while I was at it. Saving money was always a good thing." "Thanks," I said briskly. Lucas glanced at me and held out his phone again. We were finally connected on the app. He saved my contact info, and with that, it was settled. I started to feel a little awkward. Out of professional habit, the heavy curtains had been drawn to block any potential cameras, and the cool air hung between us. Lucas and I, both in bathrobes, covered in marks from each other. Every time our eyes met, the memories of last night came rushing back. The kisses, the embraces, his husky whispers, my desperate sobs. We both knew that as adults, we couldn't blame everything on that spiked drink. How much of the second half of the night was willing indulgence, how much was just going with the flow, only we knew for sure. A tense, ambiguous heat began to build in the air. "Let's leave at different times," Lucas said, standing up first. "And again, if you need anything, you can contact me." I was left alone in the master bedroom. Judy called again. "I can't take it anymore," she said. "When the hell are you going to terminate your contract with Ocean Media?" I'd been chasing Eric for 5 years. Everyone in the industry knew. 3 years ago, I gave up the chance to start my own studio and signed with Ocean Media instead. I was in the middle of a major career upswing at the time, and the move cost me a huge chunk of my fan base. I wasn't an idol who got famous from fan votes. I relied on my talent and creativity. I was young and proud, and I still managed to put out 2 more hit albums. My fans had a love-hate relationship with me, consoling themselves by saying I was just looking for artistic inspiration. For years, I'd seemed to have it all, bringing in countless projects and revenue for Ocean Media. But behind the scenes, I'd taken more than my fair share of hits and learned some hard lessons. "What's wrong?" I asked softly. "Didn't the trending topics get taken down?" "The watch endorsement deal," Judy sneered. "Your beloved CEO gave it to Chloe." Chloe. The hot new actress, the one that got away for whom Lucas had put his career on hold 3 years ago. For some reason, instead of anger, I felt a strange sense of irony. This world was so small. All the familiar players were on the same stage. Judy exploded. "What are you laughing at?" "You're laughing. That bastard Eric has been trying to screw you over for ages. Chloe and Lucas are supposedly back together, and now she's signed with Ocean. He brought her in to replace you. If it weren't for the fact that you pay me so well, and if the songs your lovesick ass writes weren't such damn hits." Judy took a deep breath. I would have been gone a long time ago. I was shaking with laughter. It took me a moment to say, "Don't worry. Chloe and Lucas are not back together." "How would you know? Didn't you see how fast Lucas killed that story? Who else could make him move that fast besides Chloe?" "Because Lucas just got out of my bed." "Get ready, Judy," I said. "Start the paperwork to set up my own studio." On the way to Ocean Media, I thought back on how I'd met Eric. He was the one who discovered me. In my early days, my family had pretty much cut me off for pursuing music. I was a nobody, so broke I was singing in bars when Eric found me. He gave me money, threw resources at me, and funded my first solo album, launching my career into the stratosphere. Eric was 5 years older than me, handsome, elegant, rich, and a committed bachelor. Judy once said that my feelings for him might have been encouraged by Eric himself. Too bad he was a shitty person. He led me on but never took responsibility, just kept me dangling. I didn't really mind. Maybe it was a requirement for my creative process, but I was naturally an emotional person. If I loved, I pursued. If I hated, I didn't look back. I was extreme and direct. So I let Eric's ambiguity slide, letting him trample all over my heart until I became a laughingstock. I made my choice, so I could live with the consequences. But when your feelings are taken for granted for so long, anyone would get tired. Eric knew I was coming. He handed me a freshly brewed cup of tea. He was always like that, a perfect gentleman in every way, except when it came to the things that mattered. I got straight to the point. "My endorsement deal. Why did you give it to Chloe?" "I poached her, I had to give her a signing bonus," Eric said softly. "Anna, just do this for me, okay?" I looked at his handsome face and thought, it's always the same. He was always so sure I'd give in. Time and time again, until even his attempts to comfort me became half-hearted. I smiled, a hollow ache spreading through my chest, as if an old wound had been ripped open. My voice was hoarse. I gave him the same answer I always had. "Okay. I'll make it up to you," Eric said warmly. "That hit reality show on TV, I'll get you a spot as a main cast member." My body was still aching from the other night. I looked down at my tea. Why Chloe? Chloe was a natural talent. She hadn't been in many films, but almost all of them were classics. She had a vibrant, fiery personality, and 3 years ago, she and Lucas had fallen in love on the set of a movie they starred in together. After Lucas went on hiatus for her, Chloe remained in the spotlight, not for her acting, but for a string of romantic scandals. I remembered clearly that among her rumored flings, Eric had once been photographed spending the night with her at a hotel. "The company's investments for the second half of the year are all in film and television," Eric said with a small smile. His gaze fell on me and suddenly froze. "Anna, where were you yesterday?" I looked down and saw a hickey peeking out from under my silk scarf. I adjusted the scarf. "Does it have anything to do with you?" Eric was stunned. In all the years I'd been chasing him, I had never spoken to him in that tone. But he quickly recovered with a smile. Still the same little kid, throwing tantrums. His voice took on a coaxing tone. "Don't be mad. I know I've been neglecting you lately. That's my fault." He brushed his hand against mine. "Want to come over tonight?" There it was again. The slap, then the sweet talk. All because he knew I was in love with him and could take my feelings for granted. Before, I was a willing participant, happy to play the game. But now, I pulled my hand away. "No thanks. You're busy. I should go." As I walked out of the Ocean Media building, a message came through on my phone. "Just meet him once. Our families are working on a deal, and he's in your industry too. It won't kill you to meet him." It was one of many texts from my mom. My career had been successful for years, and as I got older, I'd slowly patched things up with my family. But being constantly pressured into an arranged marriage made me wish we hadn't. My whole body ached. Lucas was an animal in bed. I took a few seconds to compose myself. The buyout for my Ocean Media contract was a price I could afford, but the cost would be huge. I had an album to release in the second half of the year and a whole studio of people to support. I looked down at my phone and typed back, letter by letter, fine. Tell me when and where. This arranged marriage was the result of a business deal, a major development project in West City. My older brother and sister were already married, leaving me as the only one close in age to the other family's youngest son. Making money is a dirty job, I thought. Might as well get paid for it. If the marriage went through, my family would cover the massive termination fee. I made a doctor's appointment. The results came back clear. As I was leaving, I got a message from Lucas. Do you need to get a full checkup? I raised an eyebrow and replied, thanks, I already did. Lucas didn't write back. The video of our passionate kiss had been completely scrubbed from the internet. Even though I'd seen it happen before, I had to admit, Lucas's team was incredible. But usually, that kind of treatment was reserved for Chloe. Today, I guess I got to ride her coattails. On the way back, I called Judy. I know you've been waiting for this, I said with a laugh. It's really time to go to war with Eric. The day I was set to meet my fiancé, my personal studio's official social media account went live. The gossip blogs and my fans caught wind of it, and the internet went wild. Eric called me a dozen times. I didn't pick up once. The meeting was at a Song Dynasty-style courtyard house, quiet and elegant. I heard it was his family's private property. While I waited, I reviewed what I knew about my future husband. The Grant family had made their fortune in real estate. Their youngest son was a rebel like me and had gone into entertainment. He probably wasn't very famous, though. I'd been in the business for years and had never heard of a big star named Grant. The sound of approaching footsteps broke my train of thought. I looked up, and my eyes went wide. The man walking toward me was tall and lean, dressed in a black t-shirt and jeans, a watch on his wrist. A simple outfit, but what wasn't simple was his devastatingly handsome face. Lucas. The award-winning actor I'd spent a wild night with a week ago, whispering sweet nothings into my ear. His usually cool expression showed a rare hint of surprise. He paused for a second and said, "Long time no see." Not that long. I couldn't help but want to laugh. This world was too small. I thought your last name was Lou. I use my mother's maiden name professionally, Lucas said, sitting down across from me. I didn't know you were the one I was supposed to marry. I didn't either. After that night, Lucas asked, "Did you get checked out? Is everything okay?" I looked at him, his dark hair falling loosely, his handsome features relaxed and casual, exuding a mature charm. "Everything's fine." I smiled, a bit of mischief sparking inside me. Although, it's a little too early to know if I'm pregnant or not. Lucas didn't smile. He looked at me very seriously. "Anna, would you consider marrying me?" The person I was supposed to marry was the same one-night stand from a week ago. And now, that award-winning actor and one-night stand was seriously asking me to marry him. "To be honest, I came here specifically for the arranged marriage," I said, meeting his gaze. "But you know my reputation." Lucas managed a rare, self-deprecating smile. "We're two of a kind. I'm about to terminate my contract with Ocean Media and cut ties with Eric for good," I said. "What about you, Lucas?" "Chloe and I have been broken up for almost 2 years," Lucas said, his tone serious. "I want our marriage to be just about us." I was silent for a long moment, then extended my hand. "It's a pleasure doing business with you." Lucas stood and took my hand. His was long and warm, completely enveloping mine. "The pleasure's all mine." What was this? I couldn't help but laugh again. "You're so formal." Lucas didn't let go, his eyes on our joined hands. "Anna, besides acting, I'm actually a very boring person. I take relationships very seriously. If one day you feel like you can't stand it." Lucas paused. "I hope you'll tell me directly." I was taken aback for a second, then looked up at him, my gaze unflinching. Sharp, handsome features, clean, deep eyes, a face born for the big screen. He was tall, handsome, famous, and rich, but in that moment, I felt like I had touched something incredibly vulnerable deep inside him. And I understood what he wasn't saying. Like me, he was stubbornly pleading, "Please don't trample on my heart. Don't use love to string me along and torture me." "Okay," I said, blinking slowly, and replied softly, "You know me. I'm a hopeless romantic too." Hopeless romantics tend to rush into things headfirst and then go all in. And now there were two of us. In just 3 days, Lucas and I had all the paperwork sorted out. We organized our personal finances, scheduled an appointment at the courthouse, and picked a house to live in together. And, most importantly, we broke the news to our managers. As expected, we were met with desperate, hoarse shouts from both of them. Mark was on the verge of tears. "Don't call me Mark. Can I just call you Dad? Please. You are never getting married. Especially not to Chloe. Over my dead body." Lucas had his phone on speaker. He glanced at me and cleared his throat. "It's not Chloe." "Then who is it?" I leaned in. "It's me, Anna." "Mark, do you know who I am?" The other end of the line went quiet for 2 seconds before a weak voice said, "Of course I do. There are only 2 hopeless romantics in this business." Judy was much calmer, though her voice had a dead, resigned quality. "I'm in the middle of negotiating your contract termination with Eric. If you tell me you're marrying him, I'm jumping out of this office window." Lucas took the phone. "Hello, Judy. This is Lucas. I'm the one Anna is marrying." 2 seconds of dead air. Lucas continued, "Don't waste any more time with Eric. I'll pay the termination fee." An hour later, Judy and Mark arrived. The moment they saw each other, they shook hands like old friends. "I've heard so much about you. Judy, it's a pleasure to finally meet you." "Oh, please. Mark, I feel like we're kindred spirits." They both turned to look at Lucas and me. "We approve of this marriage. We picked a lucky day to get our marriage license." At the same time, my personal studio's account posted its first tweet. When I first signed with Ocean, my fans were furious and made it known. Now that I was breaking my contract to go independent, it was a blatant announcement to the world that I had completely burned my bridges with Ocean Media. When we got back from the courthouse, Eric was waiting for me at my condo. Since I'd initiated the termination, Eric had been trying to contact me non-stop, both online and off, more persistent than he'd ever been when I was chasing him. Lucas was driving. He put on his sunglasses, parked the car, and asked, "Do you want to see him?" I thought about it for a second and, listening to my heart, shook my head. In the short time we'd been together, I'd already learned that Lucas was an incredibly responsible person. Once you were in his circle, he would instinctively take care of everything, shouldering all your burdens. He had this dependable, older guy energy, a true protector. Lucas smiled and rolled down his window. "Frank," he called out. Eric was startled, then quickly put on a polite face. "Lucas. Do you live here too?" "My wife lives here," Lucas said, taking off his sunglasses and setting them on the console. Eric was about to say something but stopped abruptly. As Lucas turned, he saw me. Lucas took my hand and looked at Eric. "Let me introduce you. My wife." A mixture of shock and disbelief spread across Eric's handsome face. "You probably know her," Lucas said. "She used to be one of your company's artists." Eric was a veteran of the industry, always composed and elegant. This was the first time I'd ever seen an expression of pure horror on his face. "I'm sure you remember her," Lucas said, his fingers intertwined with mine. "After all, Anna just paid you a fortune to break her contract." Eric stumbled back a step, his eyes fixed on me. His voice was trembling. "Anna, are you joking?" My fingers were gently squeezed, and I gave up any thought of replying. "That's a strange thing to say," Lucas said with a smile, but a heavy, intimidating pressure settled in the air. What is your relationship with my wife? Eric opened his mouth several times but couldn't get a word out. Because the truth was, they were just an employer and an employee. For years, everyone knew I had chased Eric, and he had never said yes. But he had never explicitly said no, either. I suggest you consider your position, Frank. If you want to question someone, you need to have the standing to do so. In the 3 years Anna was with your company, do you know how much revenue she generated for you? There's a limit to how shameless a person can be, Lucas said, turning his head to look at him and asking softly, wouldn't you agree, Frank? Back in the apartment, Lucas and I were still holding hands. My thoughts were a jumble, and I felt dazed. Lucas misunderstood, and after a moment of silence, he apologized. I was surprised and looked up at him. I overstepped. That was your business. I shouldn't have interfered. Lucas looked annoyed, his eyes fixed on the glass of water in his hand, a hint of insecurity in his brow. But I could see it. That same insecurity I used to have when I faced Eric. I was just dazed because I couldn't process it, I said with a smile. No one has ever stood up for me like that before. Lucas's head snapped up. I paused, then said honestly, I really liked what you did. The water glass was set down gently. Lucas stepped closer, and his light, woody scent surrounded me. His embrace was warm and broad, a completely different feeling from our passionate night together. It hurts, doesn't it? Lucas said softly. I know what it feels like to have your heart taken for granted. A sudden sting hit my nose, and my eyes welled up. I hugged his waist tightly and buried my face in his chest. We held each other for 10 minutes. When we pulled apart, we were both a little flustered. That familiar, tense ambiguity was back. Lucas broke the tension by pouring me a glass of water. Since we're married now, you should think about when would be a good time for you to go public with it. I nearly spit out my water. He quickly handed me a napkin. Or, do you not want to go public? I was speechless. In that moment, I finally understood the shock everyone felt when he put his career on hold for Chloe. Going public is a sign of respect, for your fans and for mine. Lucas knelt down to my level, his voice gentle. I can't hide my marriage and let my fans, who don't know the truth, continue to support me. Besides, if I could do that for Chloe back then, I can do it for you now. He paused. I want to do my absolute best for you. We were so close our breaths mingled. I could see the fine hairs on his face. My chest felt like it was being bombarded by 1,000 tiny bubbles, light and ticklish. The feeling made my voice tremble. But I want to do my absolute best for you, too. Lucas's eyelashes fluttered. He looked at me, a little lost. Your career is just getting back on track, you just won an award. Another scandal like that. Your fans can't take another hit. I chose my words carefully. And you love acting, right? If you go public again, no matter how good you are, the scripts you get offered will. My words were cut off as Lucas pulled me into his arms. So tight, so forceful, even his trembling was carefully restrained. I hugged him back and faintly heard a soft, fluttering sound. The bubbles had burst. 1,000 butterflies erupted from my chest. After getting our license, both our families had dinner together. Lucas's grandfather gave us a riverfront villa in the city center as a wedding gift. The day we moved, we were unexpectedly snapped by the paparazzi. They only got 2 blurry photos of us holding hands, but any dedicated fan would recognize us instantly. Judy and Mark were freaking out. An A-list pop star and an award-winning actor moving in together, they could already imagine the headache from that headline. But surprisingly, absolutely no one online believed it. A troll commented, couldn't you make up something more believable? Just the other day, Lucas was making out with Chloe LOL. A casual reader was confused, besides both being hopeless romantics, these two have nothing in common. Then Lucas's fans flooded the comments, followed closely by my own, all saying to leave them out of it. The whole scene was strangely harmonious. After I left Ocean Media, my fans celebrated by hosting a massive, $30,000 giveaway, cheering that my love sickness was finally cured. When the rumors of me and Lucas moving in together broke, both our fan bases reached an unprecedented level of agreement, trashing the gossip sites for making up anything for clicks. You could even see Lucas's fans asking mine for advice. How do you cure your fave's love sickness? Can you share some tips for mine? Mark and Judy breathed a collective sigh of relief, realizing they had worried for nothing. But half an hour later, just as the buzz was dying down, Chloe posted on her social media. It was a photo of her hand intertwined with Lucas's, fingers locked, both wearing rings. His large, well-defined hand enveloped her delicate fingers, the contrast in their skin tones and size striking. You could feel the intimacy just from the picture. The internet exploded. Chloe confirms reunion with Lucas shot to the top of the trending list. Everyone knew Lucas had powerful backing. He was a perfect blend of critical acclaim and commercial success, and no one in the industry dared to use him for publicity stunts. The only exception, from the very beginning, had been Chloe. It was Lucas's unspoken permission. Lucas's fan forums were in turmoil, once again on the verge of a mass exodus. I saw the news just after I'd finished work and taken a shower. Judy's voice was sharp on the phone. When did Lucas's PR team get so sloppy? She's practically rubbing it in your face. I was silent, water dripping from the ends of my hair. Because Judy was right. Lucas's team was always incredibly efficient at crisis management. Except when it came to Chloe. Judy clicked her tongue. He's not still hung up on her, is he? I was about to answer when Judy cut me off. That bastard Mark is calling me. Lucas posted something too. Holy shit. At that exact moment, my bedroom door flew open, and a breathless Lucas stood before me. Lucas had been filming on a set. The fastest flight would have taken at least 2 hours. The director of his new film was an internationally acclaimed, notoriously difficult genius. Lucas was the star, with a packed schedule. Getting time off would have been nearly impossible. I blinked slowly, 1,000 thoughts swirling in my head. He was dressed in a white shirt and black pants, looking tall and imposing, his hair a mess. He rushed over and grabbed my hand. I'm so sorry about what's trending. I couldn't handle it sooner. Lucas seemed at a loss, his words tumbling out, rushed and a little timid. When Chloe and I were together, I told all the platforms and brands that she could use my resources whenever she wanted. Everyone in the industry knew. I had even been a little jealous, watching from the sidelines. So when she posted this time, none of the departments reacted. It's my fault. Lucas's hand squeezed mine tightly. I already posted a clarification and told my team to handle it. You. He looked up at me. He had the sharp features of a grown man, but his eyes were so clean and clear. He said softly, please don't be mad at me, okay? I was silent for a few seconds, then stood on my toes and hugged him. The rapid rise and fall of his chest stopped. His whole body went rigid. Then, slowly, he relaxed, his arms wrapping around my waist so tightly it felt like he was trying to merge us into one. Like a big, sad cat, Lucas buried his head in my neck, his voice muffled. I'm sorry I let you get hurt. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. I felt a little dizzy in that moment. What was Chloe on, I thought, to give up a guy like this? I was a little hurt, I whispered, rubbing my cheek against his ear. So you have to make it up to me. Lucas seemed confused. Make it up to you how? I smiled, hooked a hand around his neck, and kissed him. The steamy air from my shower, scented with cool body wash, enveloped us. The thin fabric of my robe was warm with our body heat. Lucas's hand gripped my waist, the silk fabric bunching in his palm. The wet sound of our kissing was intimate and arousing. As our lips and bodies moved together, it felt like we were back in that fever dream from 2 months ago. But something was different. Possession, invasion, desire, it all washed over me like a tide. Compared to the chaotic passion of last time, this time our intimacy was savored in every shared breath. Late at night, the green bamboo plant on the bedside table crashed to the floor amidst the storm. Covered in sweat, I had a brief moment of clarity. Lucas and I were incredibly compatible. A final thought flashed through my mind: that first time we slept together? No wonder it happened. I woke up in Lucas's arms. His body ran hot, his skin smooth and firm. I was almost suffocated by his chest. Lucas's arm was locked around my waist. Unlike last time, my body felt dry and refreshed, with a long, pleasant afterglow. Lucas was sleeping soundly, but his phone was buzzing non-stop. I managed to turn over and saw it was a call for him. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Mark's familiar, frantic voice came through. My king, you finally decided to pick up. Mark, I said, clearing my throat. It's me. Mark stopped short, his tone instantly becoming gentle. Oh, it's Anna. I couldn't help but laugh. Lucas is still sleeping. Oh, still sleeping. That's good, sleep is good, Mark rambled. He must be tired after last night. He should rest. I burst out laughing. Lucas stirred behind me, mumbling as he buried his head back into my neck. It was a novel sight. I never would have guessed Lucas was the type to sleep in. Anna, can you get Lucas back tonight? Mark said. I'm not trying to be the bad guy, but he's on Director Grant's set. He has a huge part, and the whole production is on hold waiting for him. You know how Grant is. How could I not? Director Grant was famously demanding and difficult. He was known to push actors to their breaking point over a single scene. It must have been hard for Lucas to get leave yesterday, right? I asked softly. He told me to handle it the second he saw the news. I was traveling abroad, so the PR response was slow. That's on me, I apologize. Mark's voice lowered. That's why he immediately posted online, booked a flight, and rushed back. He got into a huge fight with Grant right on set. He's always been like this. The second his feelings are involved, it's like his brain just shuts off. I understood what Mark was getting at. Don't worry, Mark. I smiled and repeated, you know me. I'm a hopeless romantic too. The call ended, and I finally opened my social media. The topic was still trending. Lucas's response, posted yesterday, was his first personal tweet, aside from business, since his breakup with Chloe 2 years ago. Lucas, we broke up. We are never, ever getting back together. The post had over 1 million retweets and comments. The comments section was so active with casual observers that even his notoriously fierce fanbase couldn't control it. The top comment, with over 100,000 likes, was from a random user. First time he's been this ruthless. Looks like they're really done for good. They weren't wrong. Lucas's treatment of Chloe wasn't just favoritism, it was unconditional indulgence. During their relationship, Lucas would retweet and promote most of Chloe's posts. Her career peaked during those years. Her rise to fame was meteoric, all thanks to Lucas paving the way with resources. For some reason, while I felt a pang of jealousy, what I felt more was a bitter ache. In his unconditional support, I saw a reflection of my own past madness. During the years I chased Eric, I had to be present at countless events for Ocean Media. I wrote an entire album for him. I knew all too well the pain of having your heart offered up, only to have it carelessly thrown away. I turned over and placed a soft kiss on Lucas's forehead. His brow twitched, his eyes still closed, but he flipped my hand over and pinned it to the pillow. In the next second, Lucas rolled on top of me, trapping me between his body and the bed as he kissed me. It was gentle and tender. As I was about to run out of breath, I suddenly remembered the movie that got Lucas his Best Actor nomination a few years ago. There was an incredibly steamy bed scene. The director was a master of lighting, and the kiss was shot to be both innocent and incredibly sensual. The hashtag Best Kisser Alive had even trended at the time. I wrapped my arms around Lucas's neck and kissed the tip of his nose. Show me how good a kisser you are. Lucas returned the next afternoon. Mark sighed dramatically on the phone with me. I really misjudged you. I felt a little embarrassed. Then Mark suddenly said, how would you two feel about doing a reality show together? I was caught off guard. Mark explained, you and Lucas will have to go public eventually, but the public sees no connection between you two. A reality show would be a good transition. Don't worry, Judy and I have already bought up all the ad space for your story arc. We'll script your whole meeting, getting to know each other, and falling in love journey. Just follow our lead. Mark sounded confident. After cleaning up that kid's messes for so many years, I'm going to write you two a picture-perfect romance script and rub it in your exes' faces. The reality show had a cheesy name, Let's Go, Love. Coincidentally, it was the same show Eric had offered me as compensation when I was breaking my contract. It was TV's flagship program, a huge outdoor adventure reality show. Even more coincidentally, after it was announced that both Lucas and I would be joining the cast, Eric and Chloe were revealed to be participating as well. At the planning meeting, Mark and Judy were rubbing their hands together with glee. If they want to get hurt, don't blame us. Mark said, you two have to stick to our script, no matter what. Your fans really can't take another shock. It's a good thing you're not pop idols, or Mark and I would have died of stress by now, Judy sighed. Are you listening to me? No more kissing. I nuzzled Lucas's neck, leaning my head on his shoulder. We're so busy with work we barely see each other for months. What's wrong with a little kiss? Lucas didn't say anything, just kept pressing his cheek against mine. Mark rolled his eyes. This is what you get with two hopeless romantics. Whatever, get ready to go. Judy reminded us one last time, stick to the script. The first time you meet on the show, you don't know each other, got it? Now get out of here. And don't take the same flight. From the moment the cast of Let's Go, Love was announced, the hype was through the roof. It wasn't just that it was Lucas's first time on a reality show. The explosive part was the two massive celebrity scandals converging in one place. The award-winning actor and the rising starlet, the A-list singer and the media CEO, each pair alone was a drama-filled saga of love and betrayal. The hopeless romantics had woken up, and their exes seemed to be crawling back. Add to that the show's groundbreaking live, unedited broadcast format. On the day of the premiere, the entire internet was tuned in, and viewership numbers skyrocketed. The second I stepped out of the jet bridge, the cameras were on me. While I was getting my luggage, I ran into Lucas, who had arrived on another flight. I pretended not to know him, walking up and shaking his hand. Hello, Lucas. What a coincidence. Lucas was wearing sunglasses, looking as cool and distant as ever. But only I knew that under the collar of his shirt, on his clavicle, was a hickey I'd left there just 3 hours before. It's no coincidence, Lucas said with a small smile, taking off his sunglasses and extending his hand to me. I knew what he really meant, I was waiting for you. The camera silently recorded our handshake, which lasted only a second. We were doing a pretty good job of pretending to be strangers. The show's opening was filmed on a 5-star resort's lawn, overlooking the ocean. The cast was introduced in order of their fame. Lucas and I were first, followed by Chloe. The famous starlet was stunning, with fair skin and a face as radiant as her personality. The set went quiet as Chloe walked up to Lucas and said softly, "Lucas, long time no see." Lucas didn't take off his sunglasses. His jaw was set in a hard line. He glanced down at her outstretched hand but said nothing. The silence was excruciatingly awkward. Chloe bit her lip but didn't pull her hand back. The director's voice came through my earpiece, "Anna, save the scene." I smiled and shook her hand. "Hi, Chloe. I loved your movie, Fragrant Fields." It was the film where she and Lucas had met and fallen in love. It had launched her into the A-list. Chloe glanced at me, her response lukewarm. "Hi. Thanks for the kind words." I shrugged and pulled my hand back. The rest of the cast arrived one by one, and since most of them had worked together before, the chilly atmosphere started to warm up. Finally, the host introduced the special guest. He may not be in the industry, but I'm sure all of you are very familiar with his name. All eyes turned to me. I remained perfectly calm as Eric made his grand entrance. As the CEO of Ocean Media, with his handsome face and my years of very public pining, his name was infamous. He greeted everyone down the line, stopping in front of me. He smiled and held out his hand, his voice suddenly gentle. "Anna, we meet again." The set fell silent once more. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lucas's hand clench into a fist. I smiled, looked down at his hand just like Lucas had done, and said nothing. The awkwardness was thick enough to cut with a knife. The cameras zoomed in, framing me, Lucas, Eric, and Chloe in a perfect four-way standoff. The battle lines were drawn. In less than 2 hours on set, the host had already experienced 2 career-ending moments of dead air. Lucas turned his head slightly and smiled, then took Eric's hand. The 2 men stood there, locked in a silent confrontation. The camera focused on their joined hands, veins bulging, their grip so tight it was trembling. Everyone could sense something was wrong. The live chat was flooded with question marks. Chloe, the most perceptive of them all, looked at me. The director's desperate voice came through my earpiece again, "Anna, for the love of God, save us." I cleared my throat. Maybe we should pick teams now? The teams were chosen by drawing lots. The producers were clearly trying to stir up drama, so I wasn't surprised to see Lucas's name on my card. Actually, I was pretty happy about it. The task was simple: solve a series of puzzles to find a key hidden in a large building. Lucas and I were perfectly in sync. Or maybe it was just the magnetic pull of new love, because we soon forgot to hide our physical affection. The live chat was going wild. These 2 do not act like they just met. Wait, did Lucas just touch Anna's head? They seem really familiar with each other. I can't put my finger on it. The director didn't say anything in my earpiece, and I couldn't see the live chat. Just then, I solved the puzzle and exclaimed happily, "Babe. I got it." Lucas walked over and naturally wrapped an arm around my waist. We were so used to being close that neither of us thought anything of it. "Praise me," I said, smiling up at him. "Aren't I smart?" "The smartest," Lucas said, pinching my nose. Our eyes met, and out of pure habit, we kissed. The second our soft lips touched, my eyes flew open. I shoved Lucas away, suddenly remembering where we were. Lucas wasn't annoyed. He just threw his hands up in a playful, doting gesture. I had a bad feeling and looked up. Eric and Chloe, having just finished their own task, were standing in the doorway. Chloe stumbled backward. The task card fell from Eric's hand. In the live chat with millions of viewers, the screen was a blur of comments. Through my earpiece, I heard the director suck in a sharp breath. "Oh, fuck." I squeezed my eyes shut in despair. My earpiece was filled with screaming and shouts of "cut the live feed." Lucas calmly wrapped his arm around my waist and asked, his voice normal, "Are you guys done with your task?" Chloe covered her mouth, gave Lucas a teary-eyed look, and ran off. Eric stood frozen, opening and closing his mouth several times before finally choking out, "Not yet." "Then you should probably go find it," Lucas said with a smile. "What are you doing here, Frank?" I finally took my hands away from my face and whispered, "What do we do?" "Let's finish the task first," Lucas said, lacing his fingers with mine. Besides, pretending was getting exhausting. When faced with extreme situations, people tend to just give up. I threw caution to the wind, and Lucas and I finished the rest of the tasks holding hands. The director's voice never came back through my earpiece. It was so quiet I thought the whole production had shut down. It wasn't until after the show wrapped that the director told me, his voice still shaking, the number of viewers was so high, the live feed crashed 3 times. I asked, my voice trembling, "How many trending topics did we hit?" The director patted my shoulder. "All of them." Lucas was on the phone doing damage control. I took a deep breath and opened my phone. The first call was from Judy. I told you to stick to the script. Stick to the script. Judy's predictable roar came through the phone. Do my words mean nothing to you? My heart sank. Lucas and I already had so much public drama surrounding our love lives. Our fan bases had just stabilized after our respective breakups, and now this. I could already imagine how devastated both our fans would be, how much backlash we would get from the public. Whatever. It might be a blessing in disguise. Judy's tone suddenly shifted. I don't have time to talk to you. I'm busy. That wasn't right. I was confused. Just then, Lucas finished his call and walked over, showing me his phone screen. The word exploding was in bold red next to the top trending topic. They getting together is a public service. The entire internet was celebrating. My fans and Lucas's fans had even teamed up for a joint $1 million cash giveaway, open to everyone. They had even dug up the security footage of us kissing in the hotel from 6 months ago. No one cared that we had blown up our careers. Lucas thought for a moment. Maybe it's because we've blown them up so many times before? I closed my eyes. Or maybe it's because people don't have high expectations for hopeless romantics. Lucas laughed, turned, and hugged me, burying his head in my neck. So what? Who are we hurting by being two hopeless romantics who found each other? After the show, we were booked on the same flight back. After all, we had been forcibly outed. Millions of viewers had gotten their fill of drama, we'd kissed on camera, there was nothing left to hide. But the enthusiasm of the fans waiting at the airport still shocked both of us. In just one day, a fan page for me and Lucas had been created and had already hit #1. The ship name was the Hopeless Romantic Support Group. We walked hand in hand through the cheering crowd. A fan handed Lucas a bouquet of flowers. He froze. I was confused. Lucas smiled and explained, she's one of my original fansite admins. She's been taking pictures of me since I debuted. The fan smiled and waved at me. I was a little flattered. Then I heard her ask, are you two married? Lucas answered without hesitation, yeah. How'd you know? Two hopeless romantics crashing into each other? It's not that surprising. The fans behind her erupted in laughter. I turned my face away, embarrassed. Whatever, the fansite admin sighed. Amidst the flashing cameras, she said softly, be happy. The world turned into a sea of white flashes. Lucas turned to look at me, his eyes crinkling into a smile. We will be.